They liked the balance that they had in race.
Casey Kane, we congratulate him, his third career pole.
It's all three Hendrick Motorsports in the front.
There's a few movers and shakers out there.
To victory lane is Joey Logano.
Get the inside line on who's fast and who's last before setting your NASCAR fantasy race team this weekend. This is the Inside Line on MRN.com, presented by Hercules Tires. Now, here are your fantasy experts, Robbie Mays and Tyler Burnett.
We welcome you to the Coke 600 version of the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show. I'm Tyler Burnett, this is Robbie Mays, and we are very thankful that you're joining us on your lunch hour on a Friday, which if it was me, I wouldn't sit here and watch Robbie on a Friday on a lunch hour, but we're glad you're here, right?
I have nothing to say to you.
Well, you're just going to ignore me?
We're the only NASCAR action that's happening today because there's no activity over at the track today.
That's right. They qualified yesterday night. So let's talk about, throughout the show, what we're going to see in the Coke 600. It's a long race. And most importantly, it's the most meaningful race now.
Apparently,
because the most stage points are on the line.
There are now 4 stages, which means there is 3 playoff points in addition to the 5 for winning the race. And then there are, 30 stage points that are up for grabs. So somebody, I guess, theoretically on Sunday night could take home 70 points. That's huge. I mean, you look at things in the point standings right now. For example, Dale Earnhardt Jr., 77 points out of 16th place. 70 points could do a lot for him on Sunday night. Don't think he's going to get it, but it could be a big night for somebody, especially if they do what Martin Truex Jr. did a year ago, which is lead 392 of 400 laps.
And we'll talk a lot about Martin Truex Jr. throughout the show, if he's a good start or if he is not a good start. We also want to recap the All-Star race, and we saw, there's been a little bit of a criticism about how that race went off, and they've been trying to make an attempt this week to lay some VHT or some resin that we saw at Bristol at the top groove of Charlotte, just to try to make the racing better. And we saw in the All-Star race, you were out front, you were going to most likely lead the stage, and it's going to stay that way because it's hard to catch somebody with clean air.
Clean air was key on Saturday night. The green tires didn't matter. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Track position was huge, which is what we saw in the Coke 600 a year ago. It's not what we saw in the Bank of America 500 last fall. It's not what we saw in the All-Star race a year ago, and it's not what we've seen at the mile-and-a-half racetracks we've gone to this year. So we'll try over the course of the next half hour to walk you through what's going to happen on Sunday night. But the fact of the matter is, Tyler, I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen on Sunday at this point.
Nope, we do not, and that's why we're going to tune in. Coming up on the show today, we have Kurt Becker. He hosts our NASCAR Live Race Day pre-race show. He is also our secondary host, anchor, if you will, of the truck races and the Xfinity races. And then, of course, like I said, he hosts NASCAR Live Race Day. He's going to be on the show today to talk some fantasy racing ahead of the Coke 600. We'll have our 3 surprises from Robbie and I. We'll also play a little Under the Rock. And you think I'm going to get it right today?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Well, last week you made me guess, the 7 dwarves.
I would have given you credit if you could have named 4.
No, you wouldn't have. You said I had to name all 8.
I would have given you credit if
with
you got 4.
with Snow White and then the 7 dwarves. You said I had to name all of them.
So that
you
means
wouldn't have given me credit.
You'd have to have 3 names of dwarves.
No, every week you guys change the rules. It's like, oh, you have to get this right. You have to get this right. You have to do this.
Let's take a break.
It's like, jeez. Anyways, so we'll do that. And Rango Fowler will have his picks ahead of the Coke 600. That's all coming your way on this edition of the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show, presented by Hercules Tires.
O'Reilly. Restore lost fuel economy and eliminate rough idle with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner and get 1 free. Clean clogged injectors and increase fuel efficiency with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Buy 2, get 1 free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's almost the most refreshing time of the day. Busch O'Clock, a time for relaxing and unwinding with friends and family over a crisp, cold Busch beer. Busch's roots are in racing, but whether you're enjoying the race or going fishing, nothing is better when it's time to relax with a crisp, cold Busch. It's Busch O'Clock, so grab a 6-pack of Busch beer for the cooler, start the grill, and relax. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Busch Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Driver safety is the #1 priority in racing. It's also the #1 priority in trucking. The Detroit Assurance Suite of safety systems helps to protect drivers, their trucks, and other motorists by helping to mitigate the severity of collisions. Active brake assist, adaptive cruise control, and lane departure warning, all bringing a new level of safety and protection to the road. Don't just want better business solutions, demand them. Learn more at demanddetroit.com.
Let's talk more fantasy racing on the Inside Line.
Welcome back to the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires. Robbie Mays, Tyler Burnett, and we're here to talk fantasy racing as we do each and every Friday. But before we do that, it is Memorial Day weekend, which means it's my favorite time of year to enjoy a fresh Busch beer. It's almost the most refreshing time of day. Busch o'clock, a time for relaxing and unwinding with friends and family over a crisp, cold Busch beer. Busch's roots are in racing, but whether you're enjoying the race or going fishing, nothing is better when it's time to relax in a crisp, cold Busch. It's Busch o'clock, so grab a 6-pack of Busch beer for the cooler, start the grill, and relax. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Busch Beer, St. Louis, Missouri. And Robbie, I plan to go fishing and listen to the Coke 600 and drink a nice cold Busch beer on Sunday. It should be fun.
Well, I'll be at the racetrack for the Coca-Cola 600. So
well, you enjoy that.
I
hope
imagine
you enjoy
I'll be
it.
having a few cold Coca-Colas on Sunday night.
Let's go over our 3 surprises before we get Kurt Becker in the next break.
You want me to edit that part out?
We'll get Kurt Becker. All right, your #1 surprise leaving the All-Star race.
Kyle Busch. It's got to be Kyle Busch. The fact that he's gone to Charlotte for how many years and he's never been able to win a Cup Series event. He's won Xfinity. He won his 7th Truck Series race at Charlotte on Friday night, but he's never been able to win a Cup Series race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And it was a very bold move to be able to win the race on Saturday night, going 3 wide on the bottom of Brad Keselowski and Jimmy Johnson going into turn 1. It ended up being the winning move, and he got $1 million out of the deal. So surprise #1 is, and Kyle has had success at Charlotte before, just never been able to get a victory lane. Can he do it again on Sunday night? Well, find out. We might talk about him here in a little bit in a second.
I don't know if you remember in the preview show last week for the All-Star race, I told you I thought Kyle Larson would win the race. Kyle Larson was the fastest car on Saturday. And I said, but I'm leaning towards Kyle Busch because he's the best restarter in the sport. And he showed that on Saturday by having the best restart we have seen in a long time and in the All-Star race. I just wanted to throw that out there. But my #1 surprise is Kyle Larson. The fastest car, in my opinion, the favorite going into the Coke 600. All day long, he whooped their tail, or as Winston said, took him to the woodshed for the majority of the day. So Kyle Larson is my #1 surprise. How about your number 2?
Unfortunately, it's how bad Dale Earnhardt Jr. ran on Saturday night. It wasn't the fact that they had problems. Yeah, he kind of brushed the wall a little bit in turn 4 at one point in the night. But even before that, that car was just not good. And he got out of the car and he said he's kind of worrying about how things are going. They're obviously not going to bring that car back for the Coke 600 on Sunday night. But, I mean, it should be worrying to him that out of 20 cars, he ran last for the majority of the night. He finished 18th, but that's only because Matt Kenseth blew an engine. He was out early, and Ryan Newman had an accident. So he was out early. So that Dale Jr. probably would have finished 20th if not for that. But something's up with them. I thought they would be a lot better right now than what they are, but they're just not good.
And he said on Periscope, I do not want to see that car again.
That needs to go to the graveyard he's got in his yard.
Just like with Danica's car from Kansas has joined the graveyard. Mine is along the same lines, my second one, and that's Martin Truex Jr. He was the favorite, in my opinion, coming into the All-Star race because he led 392 of the 400 laps in the Coke 600 last year.
And he won at Kansas the week before.
Yes, and so mile-and-a-half programs right now, Martin Truex Jr. is the best. Well, he didn't even make the top 10 in the All-Star race in the final 10 laps. He finished 12th. That was a huge surprise to me and really has me scratching my head coming into this week. Does that team have the speed? Were they trying something? Will they bring a second car? We don't know. But Martin Truex Jr. was a massive surprise to me leaving the All-Star race.
Well, you know, he dominated the 600 last spring, but then if you go back to the fall race last year, he finished like 12th or 13th or something like that. And he had speed, but he just wasn't able to maintain that speed throughout the course of 500 miles. Is he going to be a good option on Sunday night, final practice tomorrow. You know, if he's got a good 10-lap, 20-lap average, then sure, that would be an option to look at. I think he's going to be a good choice on Sunday night. My third surprise was the tires, and we made a lot about the tires on the show last week, the prime tire and the option tire. And I applaud Goodyear, I applaud NASCAR, I applaud Charlotte Motor Speedway for trying it. But unfortunately, the experiment did not work out. In the last 10-lap segment, not a single car ran the green option tires. They ran them earlier in the evening. I think it's a good first step to try to get a little bit of something more exciting in the sport. But unfortunately, the other night, it just wasn't a good choice. Now, if that race was run during the daytime, sure, that might have been a better choice. But unfortunately, the tire experiment did not work.
I would like to see it tried on other tracks.
Sure.
So, in Atlanta, a Richmond where tires fall off big time, something along those lines. I don't want to knock NASCAR and Goodyear for trying it because I thought it was a great idea.
Right.
But you had to weigh the option of clean air or softer tires. Which one's more important? And clean air is definitely more important at Charlotte, just because that track, the tires don't fall off that much. Especially at night, the track's so cool that there's so much grip. So it was an effort, and I think I applaud them for their effort, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
My final surprise is Daniel Suarez. He made the All-Star race, and Eric Jones did not make the All-Star race. That was a massive surprise to me, and that's going to kind of lead us to our next topic with Furniture Row Racing, who really, in my opinion, probably had one of the best mile-and-a-half programs coming into the two Charlotte weeks with the All-Star race and then, of course, the Memorial Day Coke 600 this weekend. Truex has been probably the best car on mile-and-a-half racetracks this year, maybe behind Kyle Larson. But I think I was massively surprised to see Eric Jones not make it. But he was up there in the mix. He, of course, ruined his car quite a bit trying to go through the grass there.
Yeah.
But Suarez making the All-Star race was a surprise to me.
I thought that was a big surprise, Daniel Suarez. Congratulations to him. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen what Eric Jones could have done if he hadn't driven his car through the grass there, trying to make that back, because that was wild racing going on. I think he could have caught it. By the way, I'm along the same lines as Dale Jr. I'm Team Valence, not Team Splitter anymore. But yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what Eric Jones does on Sunday night. We've seen a lot of drivers get their first wins in this race. I'm not saying that he will, but
must starts moving forward this weekend. Who is a must start in your opinion?
Kyle Larson.
That's my number one as well.
Okay.
Why?
Simply for the speed that he showed the other night. If it wasn't for a bad pit stop at the end before stage 4, he was going to win that race.
4 second-place finishes at mile-and-a-half racetracks this year. His worst finish on a mile-and-a-half racetrack is 6th. He is definitely the fastest car on mile-and-a-half racetracks right now, and he showed it in the All-Star race. If I was that team, I would just unload the exact same car. I mean, that was they kicked their butt the entire race.
It was a dominant performance, and we've seen some All-Star races where a driver gets out and leads a bunch of laps, but not like that. I mean, he led the first 2 stages, so 40 laps he was out front. 13th in the 600 last year. He was 5th in this race last fall, so I think Kyle Larson is definitely my number 1.
My number 2, and I believe I will be starting him, is Jimmy Johnson.
Okay.
He was, in my opinion, the second fastest car in the All-Star race. He won last fall at Charlotte.
Yes.
He was 3rd in the Coke 600 a year ago. And I would say the last couple times we've been to Charlotte, Martin Truex Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, those have been your top 3 cars. But Jimmy Johnson is going to be on my team this week. And I mentioned Kevin Harvick. He was the 3rd best car in the All-Star race. He was 2nd in last year's Coke 600. I think Kevin Harvick is nearing a must-start as well.
What about Joey Logano?
I didn't like what Penske was not strong in the All-Star race.
Yeah, I agree. Although Joey Logano has led 248 laps in the last 5 races at Charlotte, Martin Truex leads with 523, most of those in this race a year ago. So I like Truex. I like Harvick. Johnson, I can consider putting him on my team. I'm going to look and see what Logano does, because if he can lead a bunch of laps, 400 laps on Sunday night, so that's 200 possible points on NASCAR.com you can get for laps led.
Are you going to even debate not starting Truex? Because he wasn't fast in the All-Star race. I just said he didn't make the top 10 in the last 10-lap stint.
Yeah.
And some people are forgetting this. Yes, he led 392 laps in last year's Coke 600, but the year before that he led 131 laps. So he's been fast the past couple years. I would be very surprised if they're not fast this weekend, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him not run as well as he did, the past couple of years.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take a break and ask Kurt Becker that question.
That's a great idea. Yeah, let's do that. Kurt Becker is on the other side of the show. This is the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show, presented by Hercules Tires.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
It's almost Busch o'clock. A time for relaxing and unwinding with a crisp, cold Busch beer. It's the most refreshing time of the day. Wait for it. 3, 2, 1. Busch. Crisp, cold Busch. Enjoy responsibly. Busch Beer. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Junior Nation, it all comes down to this. After over 200,000 laps, 750 races, and 14 most popular driver awards, it's time for a legend's last lap. Be there to witness Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s final race, Sunday, November 19th at Homestead Miami Speedway during the Ford EcoBoost 400 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Championship. Tickets on sale now at HomesteadMiamiSpeedway.com or call 866-409-RACE.
Welcome back to the Inside Line.
Join us playing our NASCAR Fantasy Live League on NASCARFantasyLive.com, and you can join the 3,000 others playing in our league. Of course, this weekend is Memorial Day, and the Coke 600 is at Charlotte. But in Daytona, Robbie, an even bigger festival, the Country 500.
The second annual Country 500 Music Festival is happening this weekend at Daytona International Speedway. The World Center of Racing will become the World Center of Entertainment, with performances by Blake Shelton, Kid Rock, Miranda Lambert, Keith Urban, Brooks and Dunn, many more. You can still buy your tickets for the weekend by visiting country500.com.
One of our favorite guys has joined us on the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show this week, Kurt Becker. He hosts NASCAR Live Race Day and with Kim Kuhn on our Cup broadcast, and he's also the anchor for a lot of Truck Series races, Xfinity Series races. He was at the All-Star race this past week. Kurt, how are you, man?
Guys, good to be with you both. Fantastic day here in Central Illinois, and looking forward to sitting back and taking the weekend off and enjoying some great racing.
Before we get to start talking about NASCAR, how's Altamont doing? Are they in the playoffs, or what's going on with them?
Well, you know, I tell you, we had some junior high and high school students, boys and girls both, who qualified for the state finals in various track and field events. They wrapped that up last weekend, about the time we were taking care of our duties at the All-Star race. Those young people were competing at Eastern Illinois University. I don't believe we had any first-place finishes, but a lot of good, solid efforts, some top threes and top 10.
All right, let's change direction on this thing.
That was important.
Does Central Illinois and Altamont pay you to come on these shows and talk about them or something? Or
well, you know, I tell you what I need to do, guys, before we go any further. Speaking of changing direction, I owe an apology to Robbie. I had spread a horrible rumor in the garage area at Charlotte.
Yes, you did.
I did. I was telling everybody that Robbie did not like the Andy Griffith show, and Robbie came to me and he said, "Where are you getting this?" He said, "I've never said that," and I had confused Robbie with someone else. Now, Robbie, with that said, given that NASCAR is a sport that traces its roots to North Carolina, I can't see where that rumor could do any damage to your reputation, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
Wow.
Remind me to stay in your workspace in Dover next weekend. All right. So let's get back to the matter of hand. Kurt, before the break, we were debating Martin Truex Jr. being one of the top starters this weekend. He struggled last Saturday. He struggled last fall. He dominated last spring at Charlotte. What do you make about the 78 car this weekend?
Well, he really was never a factor in the All-Star race, but that thing is it's its own special creature, so to speak. And I'm not going to really let that influence how I perceive Martin heading into the 600 miler. Totally different ball game. Of course, goodness knows last year he He was overpowering in that race. I think he gets back on track. I mean, I think if I'm sitting down and if I'm making picks for my fantasy stable, so to speak, he's going to be on my list.
You had to drop in the stable reference in there, I see, with your horse racing expertise, even though your picks for the last 2 Triple Crown races have not been all that great.
Yeah, you guys having me on the show to talk picks is really, really. I mean, we're all in serious trouble.
I just thought about that.
Yeah. Anyways, so heading into the Coke 600, and I was kind of joking in the break with you. I believe you covered the first Coke 600, right? You're old enough.
You know, you guys. This does bring up. You guys are giving me a tough time. I have to admit, born in the 1960s. But you know who was at the first 600 miler at Charlotte was the famed Wood Brothers team of Stewart, Virginia. And I had a chance. I ran into to Leonard Wood in the garage area over the weekend at Charlotte last weekend, and had a chance to sit down and talk to him. And, you know, he said he remembered when they came there for the first World 600, as it was known. He said they still hadn't finished construction on the track. And if you go back and look, he's right. They actually pushed back the date of the race by about 3 weeks. And he said, you know what sticks in my mind? He said, I remember Fireball Roberts won the pole. And I thought, man, how cool would that be to win a pole position at this beautiful new track? And then, of course, as you guys know, in the 1970s, the Wood Brothers won 13 consecutive pole positions at Charlotte. So it was just fun hearing Leonard reminisce about the way that place began.
And he's got a nice hot shoe in his car this week, and they've been rather strong on mile-and-a-half racetracks. They made the All-Star race by winning, a segment or stage, whatever they call it, in the Monster Energy Open. And Ryan Blaney, I'm talking about, he was strong at Kansas. Kurt, do you think that Blaney could be a contender this week at Charlotte?
I do. I think Blaney is dangerous. I thought that he flexed some muscle in the All-Star race. You mentioned he was good on the mile at Kansas. Just a gut feeling. I think that the Wood Brothers and Blaney, and then that partnership with Team Penske, I think this is potent. I think Blaney is not only a hot shoe, I think he's a smart shoe. I like the way that the kid drives. He seems to use his head. He generally doesn't put himself in bad positions. Blaney, I think, could be a big factor. And I tell you, Jimmy Johnson, you hate to go with chalk, but Jimmy was pretty darn strong in the All-Star race. I think what happened, my take on the All-Star race, Kyle Busch just caught everybody sleeping on that last restart. It was clear. And when we go to Charlotte, you guys know, you get out in front, you get in the clean air, you're tough to catch. Kyle's no dummy. I mean, they dropped the green flag to start that last 10-lap segment. He made a heck of a move, shot down to the inside, blew past the cars in front of him, and I think Kyle just knew, we got 10 laps left. Whoever gets in front on this restart, you're not going to catch him. So I think that if that doesn't happen, I think Jimmy probably wins the All-Star race, and I think that Jimmy's going to be a big factor.
It was almost like that illegal restart in the Preakness last week with the horse winning the race, jumped the restart, right?
That was one of my favorite comments. Our colleague Pete Pistone tweeted out a picture of the horse bursting out of the starting gate, and he said it's time for the Geico restart to come to horse racing.
Yeah. All right, Kurt, who wins the 600 on Sunday?
Oh, man, if you're going to pin me down, how about this? I will give you a short-priced favorite, as we say in the horse business, and I'll give you a long shot. All right?
Okay. All right.
If the winner comes from among the favorites, I'm going to say it's Jimmy Johnson. If you want a bigger price, I'm going to say that among the longer shots, Kurt Busch.
I like that.
Okay.
Kurt Busch has been rather stout in Charlotte, and he was good in the All-Star race. He
was 6th and 8th in the 2 races there last year. Jimmy Johnson was 3rd and 1st.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that pick.
Kurt, I tried to do some research on you before the show, and I went to Google, and the only thing I found was a football player named Kurt Becker. There's nothing else about you on Google. So.
Well, I tell you, Kurt, I think if memory serves, he played for the Bears. He also played for the University of Michigan. I think he's one of those guys that was like 6'5" and weighed like 230. So I'm like 5'8", but I do weigh the 230. I've got that part down.
Well, if you're consistent.
All right, Kurt. Thanks so much for joining us. It's always fun to have you on, and we'll see you in Dover because you have the week off, right? Or are you calling some horse races this week?
Got the week off, and guys, it's always a pleasure. Tyler, Robbie, both of you. Looking forward to seeing you both soon.
All right,
bud.
Kurt Becker, everyone, joining us. Always fun to have him on. He, of course, is very prominent in horse racing, and he's a fine motorsports broadcaster as well.
I didn't think about the fact that he has just blown 2 of the 3 Triple Crown races this year when we invited him on this show.
Now he did the winner of the was his long shot. So he did pick the winner as his long shot. But anyways, we got to take a break. We're getting yelled at. Under the Rock is coming back next, and of course Rango Fowler is in the next segment. This is the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires.
O'Reilly.
Restore lost fuel economy and eliminate rough idle with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner and get 1 free. Clean clogged injectors and increase fuel efficiency with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Buy 2, get 1 free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's almost the most refreshing time of the day. Busch O'Clock, a time for relaxing and unwinding with friends and family over a crisp, cold Busch beer. Busch's roots are in racing, but whether you're enjoying the race or going fishing, nothing is better when it's time to relax with a crisp, cold Busch. It's Busch O'Clock, so grab a 6-pack of Busch beer for the cooler, start the grill, and relax. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Busch Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Country 500 Music Festival is back with Blake Shelton, Miranda Lambert,
You can't ride in my little red wagon.
Kid Rock, Keith Urban, Thomas Rhett, plus Brooks and Dunn, Hank Williams Jr., Jake Owen, and so much more. Memorial Day weekend at Daytona International Speedway. Single day tickets on sale now. Visit country500.com. Sponsored in part by Budweiser. Let's talk more fantasy racing on the Inside Line. Once again, here's Frick and Frack.
Welcome back to the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires. I'm Frick, he's Frack.
Yep.
You ready?
No.
You ready?
Let's just go.
Let's play it. Under Rock or Tyler?
Do you live your life up under a rock? Or are you Tyler Burnett?
Seriously, I spent weeks looking for that rock. 2 seconds to find those 2 pictures of you. Okay, so this is a photograph of an actor on film throughout the course of history.
On film?
I need
I'm
you
done.
to either name the actor, the character that he is portraying, and one of the movies. So you can either name his real name or the character and a movie that he was portrayed in. So Donald, Daryl, let's cue it up. Let's play Under Rock or Tyler.
Okay. I know who this person is, but it's because he passed away this week, right?
I'm not telling you.
Is that correct?
I'm not telling you.
So this is Roger Moore. He passed away this week. Like, I see everything on Facebook, you know? Sorry, guys.
Throw the rock anyway.
All right, Rango Fowler.
Rango.
You guys got to give me something a little bit harder than that, right?
All right, Rango.
Bring him in here.
Come on, Rango. Come on, Rango. Come on. There we go. Okay. All right. Go away.
Sorry, you
Go
guys. The streak of me losing has discontinued.
Can you name one movie?
I almost failed his name.
Can you name one James Bond movie that he was in?
007. Is that a movie?
That's a loss. He just loses. He loses because of that.
Goldeneye.
No, he was not in Goldeneye.
That's
2 losers.
Bond. I played all the video games, but I've never seen any of the movies.
Rango's picks for Charlotte. He's got Martin Truex. He's got Kyle Busch. He's got Ty Dillon in the 13. Daniel Suarez, Paul Menard. His winner is Kyle Larson. His manufacturer is is a Toyota.
Toyota.
Kyle
Larson is his winner. I like those picks, actually.
Yeah.
The only problem I have with it is no Jimmy Johnson and Kevin Harvick.
Right.
So his random picks, I guess, did not work out. Anyways, so coming up is the Coke 600 on Sunday. Robbie Mays, you're Victor.
I'm going to go with the 48, Jimmy Johnson.
So you're going to steal Kurt's pick. That's good. I like that. It seems like every time we have someone on, you just don't prepare any notes and you just take the winner from whatever he says. I mean, we had, who was that? Jeff Striegel picked Joey Logano, and you're like, oh, I'm going to pick Logano too. Seriously?
Jimmy Johnson.
All right, I'm going to pick Kevin Harvick to win the Coke 600. Does that seem like a good pick?
No.
Well, I wanted to be different than everyone else because Rango has Larson.
Mine has a chance of actually winning.
No, you don't.
Wow, I went there.
Anyways, the Indy 500 and the Coke 600 on the same day. Who's your pick to win the Indy 500?
I have no idea. I've not watched a second of Indy this year.
Yeah,
I'm sad. Probably Will Power.
Will Power?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. What about Fernando Alonso? You think he can get it done?
No.
Starts 5th or something like that?
No.
Scott Dixon on the pole. The last time Scott Dixon was on the pole, he won the race. So
no.
That'll be good. Anyways, the Coke 600 coming up on Sunday at 6 p.m. I think PRN's on.
Yes, PRN.
Should be exciting. We're heading to Dover next week. Hopefully you would join us then. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy the Monday off. We'll come back next week. We'll talk about Dover. This is the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.
You've been listening to the Inside Line, presented by Hercules Tires. Stream us every Friday on MRN.com or the MRN app. The Inside Line is also available on demand in the MRN.com Media Center, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, or download it through iTunes or Google Play. The Inside Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network.